1,385,752,000,000 naira for their recurrent services. Judiciary, 600 million naira for their capital, 585,620,000 naira for their recurrent services. Ministry of Education, 6,906,000,000 naira for their capital, 5,109,755,000 naira for their recurrent services. Health, 8,646,423,000 naira for their capital, 2,997,690,000 naira for their recurrent services. Ministry of Works, 16,279,280,000 naira for their capital, 310,296,000 naira for their recurrent services. Ministry of Justice, 371,960,000 naira, 209,620,000 naira for their capital and recurrent services respectively. Ministry of Agriculture, 2,343,713,000 naira for their capital, 632,318,000 naira for their recurrent services. Ministry of Water Resources, 2,022,400,000, 468,720,000 naira for their capital and recurrent services respectively. Livestock and Fisheries, 287,572,862,000 naira for their capital and recurrent services. Environment, 824,554,000 naira, 700,233,000 naira for their capital and recurrent services. Commerce and Industries, 3,453,120,000 naira for their capital, while 109 million naira, 770,000 is for their recurrent services. Ministry of Transport and Energy, 7,027,000,000 naira, 309,979,000 naira for their capital and recurrent services respectively. Ministry of Home Affairs, Information and Culture, 475,680,000 naira for their capital, while 390,574,000 naira for their recurrent services. Integrated Rural Development, 800,000 naira, 800 million naira, and 160,074,000 naira for their capital and recurrent services. Housing, 1,720,200,000 naira for capital, 173,801,000 naira for their recurrent. Ministry of Sports Development, 210 million naira, 239,159,000 naira for their capital and then recurrent respectively. Ministry of Finance, 570 million naira for their capital expenditure and then 7.902 billion naira for their recurrent services. Youth and Social Development, 688,800,000 naira for their capital, while 107,202,000 naira for their recurrent services. Ministry of Women Affairs, 422 million naira for capital, 82,772,000 naira for their recurrent. Ministry of Land and Survey, 1.3 billion naira for capital, 219,052,000 naira for their recurrent services. Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, 41,120,000 naira for their capital, 327,953,000 naira for recurrent. Religious affairs, 303 million naira for capital, 153,655,000 for the recurrent. Budget and economic planning, 312 million naira for their capital, 86.2 million naira for their recurrent services. Ministry of Higher Education, 4,324,990,000 naira for their capital, 2,947,975,000 naira for their recurrent services. Pilgrims Commission, 400 million naira for their capital, 2,014,942,000 naira for their recurrent services. Audit departments, 135 million naira for their capital, 175,616,000 naira for their recurrent services. Civil Service Commission, 55 million naira for capital, 39,610,000 naira for their recurrent services. State Independent Electoral Commission, 120 million naira for their capital, 57,696,000 naira for their recurrent services. Judicial Service Commission, 33 million naira for their capital, 21,319,000 naira for their recurrent services. Local Government Service Commission, they have recurrent services of 22,533 million naira. Assembly Service Commission, they have recurrent services of 16,579 million naira. The current expenditures of some departments, boards and parastatals not mentioned here are lumped with that of their reporting ministries and provided for in detail in the proposed 2014 budget estimates for ease of reference and consideration by the honorable members of the State House of Assembly. Disbursement to priority areas, social sector. Mr. Speaker, other honorable members, distinguished personalities here, I hope that this honorable House will continue to support us in our noble pursuit of providing quality education in spite of our meager resources, which are compounded by the current security challenges. In the incoming fiscal year, we propose to complete renovation work on government secondary schools Nengere, Amshi, Yusupari, Jajere, Pochiskum Base Center, and Government Science Technical College, Pochiskum. Workshops will be constructed at the newly established base centers in Dapchi, Nguru, Nengere, and Gazarma, where the construction of perimeter fencing work on all schools will continue. Students feeding, payments of registration and tuition fees for the normal examination bodies will continue to be borne by the government. In the same vein, science and laboratory, computer and ICT equipment, classroom furniture and beds will be provided to the schools. Schools sports festival would be reintroduced for better academic and extracurricular performances. We would also pay all our counterpart contributions and provide funds for the procurement of Arabic textbooks and support to Almagiri schools. At the higher education level, we intend to sustain the special remedial program and continue to provide the necessary structures and working tools for the proper functioning of all tertiary institutions in the state. Home Affairs, Information and Culture. In 2014 fiscal year, the Ministry of Home Affairs, Information and Culture, Yobe Broadcasting Corporation, Yobe Television, Council for Arts and Culture, and the History Bureau will continue to be funded in the discharge of their duties and enlightenment, sensitization, advocacy, and mobilization for the government's policies and programs in all sectors of human endeavor. Accordingly, we propose to provide office furniture and equipment